Vinoda.
Recording in progress.
Means the understanding of dosa parihara. And dosa parihara means parihara means removal, taking away
dosa,
pushing away the dosa, mistakes. Yeah. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Now we start. Okay. First example. Anyone would like to read and try to translate this one? Let's try to. I would like to have a volunteer, someone who wants to do this one. This is an example. So this should be an example of how to. There is something wrong here, but it's not wrong because the poet is very skillful. And in this context, there is something wrong that becomes good. And if you remember, there is one example in the first book. Maybe we can go there and see what would be the wrong example. Second. Yeah, so here it refers to this padadosa, the first, which is the viruddha attantara. That's why before we were saying the viroda, that refers to viruddha attantara, etc. All these dosas. And viruddha attantara, that's in the first book, and it literally means a secondary meaning that is forbidden. That means some kind of suggested meaning that is wrong or should be avoided. And the stanza says viruddha tantaram. So this mistake, tamhi yasa anyatto virujjati. That is the second meaning or another meaning is forbidden of that expression. Adipete yata that opens the example. And the example is mego visado supeye janam. So what is the problem with mego visado supeye janam? Here it has a problem. Where is the problem and what is the problem in this example? Mego.
It is visado. Mego and visado.
Right. Why is it? It's not
because there
is two meanings in
two meanings.
Yeah. In 2 meanings, because the first one is like the poison, and the first one, the other one is like what is this? Like water.
Right. And what is the problem with this? What is it? Why? Which one is forbidden? Water or poison?
Yeah, because for the farmer, water is okay for him, but with the poison is will be dangerous.
Right. So here the standard or the example says sukaye janam, sukaye. So if it gives happiness, sukaye, if it gives happiness to the people, how can the poison give happiness? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why is the fault. And then we need to change it into the water.
Right. So here, even if we want to say water giving, because there is a secondary possibility here, and visada can also mean, or it sounds like poison giving.
It might be unnecessary water when the rice are getting ripe.
Okay, this is the example of the how to avoid the mistake, right?
Yes.
So
Parihara.
exactly, this one is a mistake, and now we go. So this should not be one should not write in this way. You can also keep it in mind. I mean, although when we are writing essays, we are not writing poems, but sometimes even in one essay, there is a possibility of a secondary understanding, and it's better to avoid confusion, and especially misunderstanding in things that express the opposite of what we want to say. And now we check. So this is the example of how to avoid that, and we still have the same idea. Megoyam visador sukaye tam sukaye, tam janam, right?
Yeah.
But here the whole sentence is changed, and then in this context, Megoyam visador sukaye, in this context that becomes allowed. That is okay. And how is that? Venerable Dhammadasi, would you like to work on this stanza? Would you like to comment or translate the stanza and explain what happens here?
Yes, teacher. We done the Bhaga Salina. That's Dasana Sukha, Dan Katanama Megoya, Visador Sukhaye. How could the rain give happiness to the farmer who are seeing his rice when they are getting ripe?
So why Visado here is good and not bad? Before it was this Megoyam Visado Sukaye Janam would be bad. But here it's good. Why does it work? Why is it good?
Yes, it is like poison. No need where what I also like a poison when rice are getting ripe.
So this is a very good example of how a good poet, a skillful poet, one who has kavikosala, you can transform something that initially it sounds bad, it sounds contradictory. How can you say that the cloud gives water and water is poison? The water is never poison.
Yes.
But in this case, it works because when the rice is already ripe and it has enough water, if you give more water, that becomes negative.
Negative, yes.
So in this particular case, the rain is like poison. So the rain, which is usually positive, it becomes something negative. And then that's the way to avoid or to remove the dosa. So here one possible translation would be, because we also express that in the form of a question, Katam Nama, how possibly Megoyam, this cloud, which is water giving or which is poison giving, you can see that. There is a double meaning, poison or water giving. One way to represent this double meaning is, at least that's how it is done in some publications. We use the italics here, italics and this slash. So poison or water. The same word can be translated in one way or another. Actually, it's not just that it can be translated in one way or another. It has to be understood in both ways, and then it works. So this means that this type of poetry, this type of kavya or kavya, is almost impossible to translate into another language. You know what I mean? Because if we translate into another language, then this word visado, because it has two meanings at the same time, then we have to translate it twice. And then the magic of the poem is kind of lost. It doesn't work in English. In English this doesn't look interesting. But in Pali, this visado, the same word can indicate two different things. That's where the poet is making poetry, really. That's an alankara. Yeah. In this case, the alankara is the silesa, right? It's called a double meaning or embracing. Silesa is a double meaning of a word, and that's very common. That's very common even in many Pali canonical texts. Good. This one is clear. Yeah. So how to avoid the Virodha Tantra. That is one way. See that the book doesn't really tell you a theory. How do you do it? It's just that the Subodha Alankara tells you can do it, and I give you one example. We learn by example. It's not. It doesn't tell you you have to move this and then change that, and then in the context you change this. No. Just this is how you change from dosa to guna. Next one is also an example of how to avoid. You have Virodha Tantra. It means a secondary meaning that is not allowed or that is not expected, or something that it shouldn't be said. But in this case, it works. And let's see how it works. So who would like to do this one? Vinayako. This is quite funny. Anyone would like to read this one? You just read and we try to translate together and try to analyze and see what's happening here.
Vinayagopi Nagosi Godamopi Mahamati Antitopi Rasabrido Sektame Sami De Kati. And there is do I need to translate or just
yeah, if you can translate, Bante, that is better, and then we can comment.
And there is another. I don't know how to translate, but I just go word by word. In Vinayako, there is another true meaning. The first one is like I don't know how to say English.
Karula.
That is the bird Garuda. Yeah.
And another meaning is like the Buddha, or like
the leader,
is already trained. Yeah.
Leader.
How to spell Garuda? Even though Garuda or
something like that in the translation.
Yeah.
So Vinayako, that means literally it means the leader, the one who is the leader of school, the teacher, the master. But it also refers to the bird Garula or Garuda, the famous king of birds, right?
Yeah.
And Naga also, it means a great man, great person. But literally it means the snake. And the snakes are the enemies. They are the enemies of the birds, of the Garuda. So Garuda is always fighting the Naga. So this image is funny, or in a positive sense, because it says you are both things. You are bird and you are the bird and the snake. You are two opposites at the same time. Why? Because you are Vinayaka, you are leader, and you are also great man. So in this sense, something that would look contradictory it would look confusing if we call the Buddha Vinayaka, because that is like calling him bird. It's like calling him the leader, but also calling him bird. But in this context, you say, well, we are playing with words, and we will see at the end of the stanza, there is one final twist or turn. Chitta me samitega. So here at the end of the stanza, we will see how this all becomes acceptable. And then the second one is even funnier.
Yes.
Gautamopi Mahamati. So what? Yes, Bhante.
Yeah, it is like a Gautama, or although you are a stupid cow, and then you are also be a white person or something like that. A white man.
An ox.
Basically, here go means cow, and Gautama is the very. The tama is this suffix that means the most cow, and cow sometimes it means stupid, as you said back then.
Mm.
So Gautama would mean that you are very, very stupid or very ignorant. But Gautama is also the name of the Buddha, the name of his family, his clan, his Gautama. So you are Gautama, which also means you are very stupid. But even though you are Gautama, you are also Mahamati. You are of great mind, very, very intelligent. Even though you are stupid, you are great. You are very intelligent. Of course, it's not saying even though you are very stupid. What we have to read is you are Gautama and also you are very intelligent. This is the right understanding. But there is a play with words because it looks like a contradiction. If you just read Gautama as very stupid, like a donkey, we would say like a donkey, even though you are like a donkey or something. And the third one, Panito pi rasapeto, that is a little bit more subtle. What would that mean? Panito pi rasapeto.
Although it is delicious food, and there is no taste.
Right.
Like
so this is the primary meaning. This is what we understand. Even though you are delicious, like a food that is delicious, you have no rasa, no taste, no juicy taste. No. So that's also a contradiction. How can something be delicious and have no taste? Right. How can something be the bird and also snake? How can something be stupid and also intelligent? How can something be delicious and have no taste? So, but how do you read this in a way that makes sense? What is the other possible? There is a second possible translation of this. What would that be?
Is this only the person who are enlightened, or yes, only the person who are already enlightened, away from the desire of taste or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So the second one that we saw, we could translate it, even though you are most bovine. Bovine, that means, bovine means any animal of the family of the cows. And most would be the tama, the most go. And in the third one, is like, even though you are delicious, or panita can also mean excellent.
Excellent.
You are tasteless or passionless. Because rasa can also mean the passion or that attachment or desire. You are desire, you don't have desire. So in the first one, there is a contradiction, there is a contrast, being tasty or delicious and also having no taste. This is a contradiction. But if we say you are panita, you are excellent, and also rasapeto. You have no passion, no desire. And finally, there is the twist. Chitta me sami te gati. That's a kind of exclamation. Oh Lord. Oh Lord, Sami. So te gati literally means your way, your nature, your way. Let's see how the commentary takes that. Te gati. Pavati, gati pavati. In the new commentary.
Abandoning or appearance or something like that?
Yeah, te gati pavati. The commentaries translate or interpret gati as pavati. That means your behavior.
Your behavior, your appearance.
It means your behavior, your way of being, your nature. Literally, gati means your way. Maybe we can say your nature. Any proposal for gati? It doesn't really mean nature. Your way, maybe your way, chitta. How do we understand chitta? In the commentary, it says chitta is acharya, it's wonderful.
Strange.
Amazement? Amazing?
Amazing.
Amazing to me.
Your way is amazing to me. And here also, of course, gati also has a double meaning, because the gati of an animal means how the animal walks, or like here we have, in 3 cases at least, there is reference to animals, like Vinayako, Nago, and Gautama. There is a secondary meaning referring to animals, and the animals, they have their own gati, they have their own way of moving. But here that explains the whole stanza, and it's obvious that it's a play. It's a play on words. Also, the chitta, it means amazing, but it can also mean variety, right? Chitta means of many different types, right? Chitta. So here, even the word chitta can be taken as a play on words, because.
Excuse me, teacher. Instead of using varied, what it be if you use a weird?
That is very good, because that's another possibility, and maybe that would work well with the previous. I mean, with the first interpretation of that. If we take Vinayako and Naga as animals, then it is weird. If we take Vinayaka and Naga as leader and excellent, that is amazing. So if we take the first meaning, it's weird. That it's chitta in the sense of strange, right? Weird, strange. That's one possible meaning of chitta. And but also strange in the sense of wonderful, strange. That's the secondary meaning. That is the correct one, let's say. So here, this stanza is good. It has quality, because in the end, the correct meaning is there. And even when there is incorrect, let's say it's not an incorrect meaning, it's an incorrect usage of certain words. It's just playing with some contrasts that look paradoxical. They look impossible. Like how can someone be the bird and the snake? It's impossible. But the idea here, we are trying to say, the stanza is trying to say that the Buddha is very wonderful. So the Buddha is different than other things. The Buddha can transcend the normal state of affairs in the world. So these paradoxes show how wonderful, how different the Buddha is. even if we are playing with like you are this and also the contrary, you are everything. But of course, we should not read Gautamopi Mahamati in the sense of you are stupid and you are intelligent. That would be a mistake. We have to understand that this is just a play of words. It's a play with the words. It's a silesa, and as we said before, this stanza is basically impossible to translate. I mean, we can translate in this way, right? We have translated it, but it doesn't work in English. In English, it's like, so what is the point with Garuda and leader and snake and it doesn't make any sense. If someone reads that in English, it doesn't work. It doesn't look like any kind of skillful standard. But in Pali, you can see the poetry. That's one thing that I think no one mentioned in the essays, but maybe that's something that is worth pausing on or maybe considering. That usually when if we are reading a text and this text is not poetry, it's easy to translate. We can translate. Yeah. If I say Ekam Samayam Bhagava Savatyam Viharati Anata Pindikasa Jedavane Anata Pindikasa Rame and everything, that we can translate. Yeah. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living in Savatthi. Okay, what's the problem with that? There is no problem. But if I say Vinayako Pinagosi Gotamopi Mahamad, then how do you translate that? Impossible. And that's because in the second case, there is poetry. And in poetry, words are used in many different ways, in many different levels, not just one level. And that causes a problem. So that takes me to another question. If you remember the first day, we were having a very interesting discussion on so what is Pali poetry? Which Pali texts are poetry? Which are not poetry? And I was saying like, okay, the Brahmajala Sutta is poetry or not? This one is poetry or not? And we said that the Dhammapada is poetry. So how can we translate that? What do you think about the translations of the Dhammapada? Have you read any translation of the Dhammapada in English?
Yes, teacher.
And do you think they are good? I mean, many stanzas, they can be translated easily also, I guess. But it is true that the rhythm, the music, the play with words, many references that are clear in the Pali, like Vinayako in Pali, it is clear. It refers to Garuda. It also refers to being a Vinayaka, being the leader. And Naga is also a word that it has so many different meanings in Pali. It's a snake, it's an elephant, it's sometimes a mountain, it's a great person, it's something great, it's something, but it's also a snake. So that you cannot translate into English. And Gautama is also a name that it refers to Go, to the cow. But it's the name of the clan of Gautama. So what do you think about the translations of the Dhammapada or translations of other Pali poems that actually are very difficult to translate?
It has, I think, a significant words to translate.
There is one, for instance, I remember now in the Teri Gatha, there are some places also where there are many plays with words. And especially the nuns, they play with their own name. So the meaning of their name, their own name is part of the poem. Like they call me like this, And that's because, and then in English it doesn't work. So in English, what they do sometimes, they translate the name. Instead of saying someone is called Sujata, they say my name is Sujata. Instead of saying my name is Sujata, my name is the well-born, or something like this, the one who is born well. Something, I don't know, I'm just making it up, but you know what I mean? Like Sujata means something in English.
Yeah, yeah.
If we just say Sujata, it doesn't make it, no one will understand in English. So this is something it's just a reflection that usually the good poetry is impossible to translate. And in Buddhist texts, we have many good poems. There is actually one verse in the Dhammapada. I don't remember the number. It says that it's like the footprints or the path of the Arahants is difficult to trace, like the path of the birds in the sky. Something. But I think it uses the word sakuna. And here, do you remember the verse? Sakuna. Let me see if I find it.
Akasiwa takuntanan.
Yeah. Yasam sannichayo natti niparinyata bojana sunyato animito cha bimokko yasam gocharo akaseva sakuntanam or sakunam. But there is a variant reading here. 1 second. I'm going to copy that. Just to give you one example of what happens sometimes. Although you know it very well, but yeah. Sorry. Just trying to copy this Dhammapada. Okay. It's 92. So actually, I copy everything, but I just want to mention one thing. This is the variant reading, okay? Here we have this simile that is called the upama. Akaseva sakuntanam gati. And again, we find the word gati, interestingly. Tesam duranaya. It's difficult to guess, difficult to follow. Naya means different things, but it comes from the root ni, which means to lead, to follow something. So here sakunta or sakuna, one meaning that you will see in different translations is bird, right? But it seems that a sakunta or sakuna in Pali, it's not just the bird, it's the condor. Do you know the condor bird? It's a kind of vulture or condor. The condor is a bird that has very wide wings. It's not just any bird, it's one type of bird. And it goes very, very high in the sky. And it goes so high that you lose the track of the bird. There's one point that you cannot see where the bird is because it's so high. I don't know if you see this type of bird in Burma. They usually live in the mountains. You know, they need the mountain to hide. They don't live in the I don't know, in the near the river, in the rice plains, or in the valley.
How to spell it, teacher?
Sorry?
How to spell is the
Condor.
Condor.
You can check images online of a condor. Very, very impressive.
Okay.
Very impressive bird. So of course my first reading of this Dhammapada verse, when I read it for the first time, I took it as sakuna, that means bird, any bird. So if we read it in this way, it means the path, the way of the Arahant is durannaya. It's difficult to follow. It's difficult, durannaya. It's difficult to follow. Like the path of the birds in the sky. Why? Because most animals, when they walk, they will leave some footprint, right? If you go to the forest, you will see, oh, there's a footprint here. Maybe there was a deer, or there was a pig, or there was an elephant. You can see the footprints. You can follow the animal. But the birds in the sky, you don't know. After they pass, there is no trace. There is no remaining anything that can tell you, oh, in this place there was a bird flying here before. No, there is nothing remains. There is no trace. And here the idea is that there is no trace of karma. There is no karma. Nothing like. There is no sannichayo. They don't create. Basically, it refers to not creating more karma. Ye pariññata vojana sunyato animitto cha vimokko yesambocharo. Those who have their own area of roaming, going around, is vimokka. It's the freedom, complete freedom. You cannot see them. You cannot see how they move. You cannot understand their movement, because their movement is like the movement of the birds in the sky. And that's a very, very poetic image and very beautiful. Of course, it changes a little bit if instead of saying birds in the sky, we say it's like the flight of condors in the sky. Then it changes a little bit, because the condor is, as we say, is a different type of bird, the specific type of bird. And here it's not just that the bird is in the sky, but it flies so high that you cannot follow. It's too much for the humans, because the bird it's flying very high, and we lose it. In other words, we can actually see how the small birds, we can see their gati, we see how they move, right? But this type of bird is a different type of bird, and there is a point where, like some airplanes, that we lose the sight, even though it's still there. It's still there. The airplane is still there, but we cannot see it. And this type of bird also is still there, but flying so high, and then we lose it. So that would make a different interpretation of the verse. Of course, in the end, it's just a verse about the Arahants. Maybe there is no need to make so much. No need to create such a story. But it changes. It definitely changes, and it's not the same meaning. The simile is not exactly the same. So, yeah, that's one example of poetry and how to translate certain meanings in famous Buddhist texts. So now let's move to the next one, which is another way to change a mistake into something good. We'll go back to the commentary. 1 second, please. So this one is katam tadiguna bhabe lokam doseti duchano obasi tasasat. So Kajjoto nama kim bhave. And that is ajatassa. Ajatassa. And maybe we can first look at the mistake. What is the mistake? Oh, sorry, 1 second. Book 1. Adyatta or ajatta. Overqualification. And that's a definition of overqualification in book 1. Visesyam adhikam yena adhyattam etam bhave. So it's the exaggeration or overqualification, adhyatta or ajatta, is that by which something is excessively qualified. So if you say that your Pali teacher is absolutely wonderful like the sun, so that this is overqualification. You should not call me so much. You should qualify everything according to the proper measure. So the example is yata ovasita sadiso kajoto yam virajate. That is something like kajoto ayam, this firefly, virajate, illuminates, or being the, here's the firefly, illuminator of the entire universe. Here's the firefly by which all places are illuminated. Yeah. Why is that a problem? Why is that bad? What do you think? It's bad in the sense that it's an overqualification, it's an exaggeration. Why is it? The kajota is very small.
Yeah, firefly is very small.
So I don't think it can shine even in my hand. You know?
Yes.
How can it shine in the whole world? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like, it's like saying I have a friend who is very, very smart. He's the smartest person in the world. Okay, calm down. Maybe he's very smart. To say that he's the smartest person in the world, that is exaggeration. Maybe he's the very smart in your town, very smart in your school, but in the whole world, the whole universe, that is a little bit too much for. Yeah. So this is the mistake. And now the trick is that we want to make this mistake into something good. So can we say that this kajota, so we have the same thing here, ovasitas sadiko kajota nama kimbave. So now, actually, this as you can already see, this chapter on how to avoid the mistakes, it's a little bit tricky, because the way to avoid the mistake is to use it in the stanza. We use it as a question. So it's usually how can this be possible? So because these mistakes are something wrong, then when we use it in the stanza, we probably say, so that is not, such a thing is not possible. So here again we have this. We begin with katam tadi gunava ve lokam tasetiduchano. How is it possible that a bad person can please or can gladden the world? Tadi gunava ve, not having the quality of doing that, right? Tadi guna. Tadi means tadisa, or such guna, such quality, abhava, absence, not being there. In the absence of such quality, that would be the very, very, very literal translation of virtue. In the absence of such virtue, tadi guna abhave lokam toseti katam dujjano, or katam dujjano lokam toseti. How does a bad person make the world happy or satisfy the world? And now the second line is also a question. This is a question, is an example of why the first question is absurd. It doesn't make sense. It's impossible to think that a bad person can make the world happy. In the same way, it's like how can I find? Maybe we can translate it in this way. Yeah. Maybe we can say so. Kim Nama, it doesn't really mean. Like Kim is just a question mark, right? So it's not exactly a katam, although it's related in this context. But okay. You can, if you have a better translation, you can use it. Kim Nama, like how possibly, or how could it be possible? Kim Nama, how could the Kajjota become like that? So in this stanza, obviously, we don't say that the Kajjota is Ovasita Sesadi. So it illuminates the all quarters of the month. We are actually saying that this is impossible, but we use it in such a way. Yes, Vante? Any comment on this?
I don't think nobody talk anything.
Okay. Sorry. Just maybe I'm going crazy and I hear voice.
Yeah, because you are thinking about your lecturer. You are doing
no, not really, not so much. No. I just have to teach. I think it's because it's early and I'm still waking up. But here the lectures are very easy. Very easy.
I think you teach us your hands posture.
So yeah, here, don't worry. Here, what we are teaching here is very simple. It's very introductory. People don't know any Pali or anything. Don't worry. So yeah,
it's Kisoto, and in Myanmar we call Posongju. Huh?
What? Sorry.
Yeah, Posongju.
What is that?
Yes, Posongju is firefly.
Yeah.
The firefly.
Firefly.
Yeah.
The firefly.
Teacher, what about if we translate like a Katam is like a how come a firefly become a immunity or something like how come and would it be? Yeah. How come it more? Yeah, I think how come. Yeah, is this an idiom? How come you know my name or something like that?
Right. That is possible, but we use how come when something actually happens. If someone remembers your name, then you say, how come you know my name? How is it possible that you know that? In this case, it's like how it would, you see that here the verb is babe.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that we already studied the verbs, and this is optative, and the optative expresses things that are not, they don't happen or they haven't happened. So in that case, it's probably how possibly would a firefly become something like this? We have to translate the entire sentence, I guess. We have to translate the idea, right? Rather than word by word. If we translate word by word, sometimes we are missing the general image. But yeah, I mean, even if you say how come here, I think it's not completely wrong. I don't know. I'm not a native speaker, so I'm not I would say that how come is when something happened. How come? Because it comes. It has already come. It has happened.
It's something already happened and we don't expect it, and then it's happened, and then we say how come.
If we say how come the firefly, it means it happened. You see the firefly shining so much like the sun, which it would be nice. It would be, maybe the sun is a firefly. We don't know. We never been there. Maybe when it's daytime and we see the sun, we don't know that it's very small but shining a lot. So who knows? Great. So this is another example, and to me the trick is very simple. The mistakes are mistakes. But if we use the mistake in the sense of something that is impossible, then they become guna, they become virtue. We have seen that before. Here, we are not really saying that the Buddha is the bird and the snake. That's the point, is that we are not really saying that. If we would really be saying that, then that would be a mistake. But if you use this expression as something that is not really happening, we are suggesting that the words are there, but the final point is that if we read it properly, it's not really happening. Then it works. And in this case is a little bit different. But again, see that in the example is the katam. So in book 1, the example is just mego visado sukaya janam. That's the example. But when we want to make the example work really, and it's not dosa, it's guna, then in many ways, in many examples, you will see this katam. This katam means how is it possible? How is it possible? So it means it's not possible. It's something that it's absurd or silly or whatever. So here it's the same. And now we move to the next one. I don't have more slides, but I think I can take more text from the. Let's read this one. Paheli ka yam arulha nahi dutta kilitata piyasu kalingitam kam alingati kamalingati nuno iti. This one is a little bit tricky.
Is it talk about the Kirita Soda dosa?
Right. So shall we go to the Kilita dosa first and try to examine? Let's go there and see what it is about. Oops. Kilita, obscure meaning, actually means defiled, as you know very well. It's related to kilesa. So there is also kilesa, a kilesa of the verse. And what is kilita is yasatta vagamodukko pakatyadi vivagato kilitam tam yatataya soyam alingyate piya. So the yata usually introduces the example, as you know very well. So first we have the definition, then we have the example. And here there is a possible translation. Obscure, that means an obscure meaning, or the defect or the flaw of a text being obscure is that word whose understanding is difficult in terms of the analysis of the nominal base, and so on, etc. So there are different ways in which a word can be obscure. It can be obscure in the spelling, in the linga. Actually, here it says the pakati, that's the nominal base, but also in many other ways. And the example is Taya soyam alingyate piya. which means this man is embraced by the beloved woman. That's the right translation of Taya Soyam Alingyate. The problem here is that there seems to be a grammatical misunderstanding. It's a grammatical misunderstanding. Because the word Pia, it looks like a nominative singular of Pia. That means beloved one, the dear one, is a feminine. But Taya, as you can see, with Alingyate, which is a passive, this should be an instrumental, feminine instrumental, Taya, that means by her or by that woman. The Soyam, it's a masculine, that is this one, it's a man. So this man is embraced by that one. But what do we do with Pia? If Ayam is masculine and Pia, then we should say Soyam Pio Alingyate Taya. Or if it's Pia, we should expect Taya Piaya. We are confused because usually when we see the most common word is Pia. But the thing is that here Pia is not the nominative singular. This is also, it goes with Taya, and it's the instrumental singular of P. And P, as you can see in the vocabulary, that means a beloved woman. And the instrumental singular is Pia. So that is a kind of, so you can do that. You can write in this way if your goal is to confuse people. You know what I mean? If the point is that we want to make people confused, then we can do that. And they will say, oh, how is the grammar working? And you say, well, you didn't know that there is one word called P that has the instrumental Pia. So the sentence is perfectly okay. So that's the thing. This is obscure because this Pia here is immediate. It's not immediately recognizable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is an example of Kilita. Kilita, it's actually I like another way of translating Kilita. I would call it dirty. Dirty. It's dirty. It's dirty writing. Maybe we could use that at SSBU. In fact, this is dirty writing. When I will mark the essays, I will say it's Kilita. It should not be clean. It should be clean. It should be clear. Yeah, because the opposite of Kilita is clear. And I think the guna is usually called pasada, the clarity, this clarity of the language. You know that there are some authors in any language, in your language and in my language, that when they write so clear. Everything is very clear. I don't know. How is it possible? No. Some people, when they write, it's difficult to follow. It's difficult to see. Some people, when they write, it's so clear, so simple and clear. I understand what that person means. The language is very precise. It's not difficult to... So here, it's dukkha. That's another... Yesterday, actually, in this course here, someone asked me, if there is a good translation of dukkha means anicca, dukkha, anatta, dukkha in Buddhism. We usually translate it as suffering. But some people were asking, like, is there any other possibility or not, another way to translate dukkha? And I said, well, yeah, there are many ways. And many people translate it as unsatisfactory and this and like that. But there's one way that I like of dukkha that is difficult. Even when we say dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta, dukkha is, sometimes we are not really suffering. We cannot say it's suffering. But it's just difficult. It's difficult. It's not easy. You have to make some kind of effort. And in this life, when we are born as human beings, it's like that. It's dukkha. Certainly, for everyone. I wake up in the morning, it's dukkha. Why? Because I'm not suffering, I'm fine. But I'm sleepy. I have to make an effort to become awake. I'm a little bit dirty after the night. I have to take shower. You have to do things all the time, you know. it requires some effort. It's not immediately easy. It's not sukha, it's dukkha. Anyway, this is not what we were discussing. What we are discussing is how can we make kilita into something that is not kilita. It's something interesting. And one way of doing that is to use what is called the pahelika. And the pahelika, pahelika is the riddle. It's called in English. Pahelikaya. Pahelika. That is the key word. Pahelika. Do you know the meaning of pahelika? I think you know the meaning, but maybe you don't know how to say it in English. Is it possible?
It's like a puzzle.
Puzzle, riddle.
Exactly, a puzzle, riddle. That's totally precise. I need to plug my computer. 1 second, please. Okay. Sorry about that. I had no battery, so I had to plug in. So pahelikayam, that's the locative singular. Pahelikayam arulha. So that means when it is put on, when it is included in the pahelika, in a puzzle, nahi dutta kilitata. This dirt, this defilement, this obscurity, nahi dutta, is not really bad. It's not bad. Something like that. Maybe we can translate very literally, also just for the help of the. I translate the nahi as certainly not. Certainly not. It's like, it's not really bad. And now, example. Let's see if we figure out this example. Ya sukalingitam kam alingati nuno. So, what do you think about this one? This is a pahelika, right? It's a kind of puzzle. So, kam alingati seems to be the question. The nu is qualifying the question. So, kam nu alingati. It's like kim nu or kam nu. Kam nu is kim means what, and kam means who, whom. Nu and no is na. Yeah. No here it means na. So maybe we could rephrase. We could put the pahelika in a way that it makes more sense. Perhaps. I know that some of you already know the solution, but rephrase. Let me see. I'm trying to rephrase it in a way that Kamma
Kamma
Sukha.
Sukha.
From this stanza, even though I reach in Burmese, it's difficult to understand.
Yeah. That's the point exactly. That it has to be. So that's a question, right? And I think maybe this is a possible way to rephrase the. So this kam and the alingitam are the same person, and it's a man. It has to be a man. Piya alingitam. So which man, which is embraced by the beloved one, does actually. But here, I think this is a wrong sandhi, because I think it should be Sukam Alingita. Sukam, let me check the commentary. I don't remember exactly.
It's correct.
It has to be Sukam. So the sandhi is Sukam na Alingati, not Sukha, because Sukha doesn't make sense. That's how we have to understand, yeah? And the sandhi is here. So what is missing is the in. So the subject is Sukam Alingati Kam. So and it's no. So how could let's try to begin to translate. Happiness is sukha here. So the point is, if a man is embraced by a woman, the beloved woman, the girlfriend or the lover, sukha also embraces him. Yeah, sukha is also hugging him. If you see one of these Myanmar movies that they show on the bus, where there is always a love story, no? when there is the boy and the girl, not only in Myanmar and also in any movie, in Hollywood, in Bollywood, in any movie, there is also always the boy and the girl, and the boy wants to have the girl, and when the girl hugs him, the boy feels very happy.
Yes.
So the image here is that when the girl is hugging him, happiness is also hugging him at the same time. So how could it be otherwise? So which man who is embraced by the beloved one? And here Piya, which is difficult to understand because this is a pahelika, this is a riddle, this is a puzzle, then it is accepted here. It's not Piya, it's P. P meaning beloved, dear girlfriend or whatever, or wife. And Piya is the instrumental. And Piya alingitam kam. Which man who is embraced by the beloved one would sukha not also embrace? Something like this. Does it make sense, Venerable Sobita? Do you understand now? The structure is a bit difficult, but this is kam no Piya alingitam, sukam na alingitam. And this is how sukha will not embrace the man who is already embraced by the girlfriend or by the woman who is beloved. The point is that if it's a kind of pahelika, and if the girl hugs him, happiness is also hugging him. Sukha is also hugging him. Yeah? Because he feels so happy. It makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it is expressed in a way that is very difficult and not easy. But in this case, it's a pahelika. It's a puzzle. It's a riddle. So the teachers will say, in that case, it's fine you cannot call it, we cannot call it a mistake. It's okay. And we accept it because it's a kind of game. It's a game. We have to play the game. Yeah. Good. So shall we do one more? We have 10 minutes. I don't know how you are doing with time because you have to go for lunch. Do you still have time? Would you like to do? Yeah, one more.
Yes. One more is okay.
I have to copy from the text. That's how slow I go doing this. You can imagine. Okay, I will edit later. This is 74. Yamakeno payojeya kilitta padamichite. Tato yamakamanyam tu sabbam etam mayam viya. Okay. Let's see. Something the mayam. Etam mayam. Okay. Etam mayam. That's one word. Made of that. Etam mayam. Made of. Etena mayam. Etam mayam. So would anyone like to give it a go? Try to. So we are still talking about the Kilitta Pada. This Kilitta Pada, which we have seen, is acceptable in the Pahelika. So sometimes it is acceptable. In general, it's not acceptable. It's dirty. It's a dirty word. We want to remove it from the text. Yamake ichite. This goes together. Yamake ichite, that's what we call the locative absolute. Remember? It's a noun and it's a participle. They are in the locative. So yamake ichite, and we translate it. When a twinning, yamake is a twinning. It's a kind of figure of speech that is a repetition of the same word or same sound. So usually with different meanings, or that we have to break in different ways. So let's call it yamaka. Okay, it's called twinning in is expected. Expected is for ichite. Yeah, when yamaka ichite, when the twinning yamaka is expected, no payojeya kilita or should not be used. No payojeya. That means na payojeya. It should not be used. Again, we use the optative payojeya is here because it's a rule, right? It should not be used. Tato yamakam anyam tu, but tu, however. Oh, I don't mind here. Here, and then what is that? So there seems to be a kind of contrast or even contradiction here. But however, so anyam tato, tato goes with anyam. So literally means than that. All Sattvam is so what does that mean? So yamakam anyam sabbam etam mayam diya. So all, or maybe you can say all. Meaning other than that, other than the one with the Kilita Pada, is as if made of that. So my understanding is that even if we should not, in the Yamaka, we should try to avoid the Kilita Pada. That means a word that is difficult to understand. Still, the Yamaka is made in a way that it looks like Kilita Pada. Because the Yamaka is a bit confusing, because there is a repetition of a word or a sound, so it's not immediately clear. But I think in the following verses we are going to see there's no example here. We are going to go back to this point next day, because in some other places I think there is more comment. Here, if you look at the commentary on this Yamake no Payocheya, the old commentary is very short. And when it says etam mayam iti etena kilita padena nibbatam vya. So it is as if it looks like made with a kilita pada, but it is not. And the new commentary says etam mayam vya imina kilita pada dosena katam vyahati. It looks like that it is made with the flow of Kilita Pada. That's a kind of interesting, confusing statement, because on the one hand we say we should not use the Kilita Pada. On the other hand we say, but actually it looks like Kilita Pada. It's not, but it is like. So what does that mean? We'll see that the next day. Now we'll stop for today because it's lunchtime is coming. So thank you very much for adjusting the time. Yeah.
It's okay, teacher.
Yeah, thank you so much, teacher. Yeah.
It was very convenient for me. I hope you have a nice week. Those who haven't submitted yet the essays and so on, please try to do it as soon as possible, because if you do it as soon as possible, even if it's not completely finished, I can have a look and send it back to you, and then you can submit the final version. So remember that I'm not going to mark this first version. It's not for the marks. Yeah. So don't worry. Good. Shall we conclude here? Buddha sasana Buddha sasana